Raincoat Players and Bands. This is Sunlight, also known as Aslan Oyarsa. Today I'm doing the quest guide on Aslan Oyarsa because the quest guide I tried to record on Guide to RS3, my usual quest guide account, the account I made for quest guides, did not turn out. It got corrupted or something. So to start the quest, you go from the Taverley Lodestone south and then northwest up onto White Wolf Mountain and talk to Violet here at the entrance to the Land of Snow portal. She will try to scare you, but because you are a bold adventurer and you're brave, she doesn't scare you. You wind up concerned for her safety though when she runs into the portal, so of course you follow after her. As soon as you get through the portal, she hits you with a small snowball. For some reason, it's not showing up on Java. I'm suspecting Jagex is just not adding little things on the new content to the Java just to get those of us who are still using the Java to want to use their new client instead. So the first puzzle of the quest is the giant snowballs that this small girl is somehow rolling down the hill at you. So you go up the hill, dodging snowballs. If you get hit by a snowball, you wind up back at the bottom of the hill. You can actually clip the edges of the snowballs and be okay just like that, but getting hit sends you back. If you get hit too many times, oh, by the way, this pause here, this only happened while I was recording this video, and as soon as I started going up the hill, they started rolling again. If you get hit too many times, 5 or 6 I think, then it will ask you if you want to make the puzzle easier. If you tell it yes, it will say, okay, now the snowballs will come slower down the hill, so they'll be easier to dodge. And you can make it up the hill usually in the first attempt or two after that if you're having problems with getting up the hill. Once you get to the top of the hill, you talk to Violet. She says, oh, that was so much fun. Her father roars for her to come home, and not knowing what the roar was from or whom it was from, you're scared for her safety as she's running off, and you decide to follow her home. So when you get to her home, there are a couple of things in the yard. You don't have to examine them or anything, but I did for the video, just so that you can see, the yellow snow. You always hear, don't eat the yellow snow. In this case, it heals full life points. There's also a melted snowman. If you examine it, it says probably really like warm hugs. That's one of the references to Disney's Frozen in this quest. Another one comes when you knock on the door. The second option there, do you want to build a snowman? Or when you have actually knocked on the door and you ask what you want, I want to build a snowman, that will get you turned away. So don't do that one unless you just want to get turned away, because then you'll have to just knock again to actually get through the quest. But the other two options, trick or treat or go on an adventure, they'll work to get you inside. Talk to either one of the Yetis, Betty or Trevor, and they will offer you some stew. They will say that fresh ingredients were just added. You, of course, assume that it's Violet until she comes out of her room. She says, oh, I saw a hairless Yeti in the woods. Oh, there's the hairless Yeti. And you realize that she lives there, that they're not eating her and offering you cooked little girl in their stew. So you are a little bit more okay with the Yetis. You still think that they've kidnapped her or something. So when she asks to go to the Yeti Festival and they tell her no for who knows how many a time, she gets sent to her room. You talk to them. You've captured a human girl. You think that they've kidnapped her. So you're upset. Well, you find out that she was left in a basket with a blanket on their doorstep, and they adopted her and are raising her as a Yeti. They don't want to let her go to the festival because they think that A, she's going to get harmed on the journey, or B, she's not going to be accepted by the other Yetis because she's not really a Yeti, but she just believes she is because they adopted her. She was adopted by Yetis. So, of course, you agree to help Violet go on the journey to Yeti Town and go to the festival. And you're told to go break the news to her yourself. So you go in and talk to her, and she is talking about becoming an adventurer like you, just running away and becoming an adventurer. And it takes a few minutes going through the dialogue if you're actually reading it, or a bunch of clicks or space bars to get through it if you're not reading, to get to the point where you actually tell her that she's going and she believes it, and that triggers the second puzzle of the game, the I Spy, where you're helping her pack. And there are 3 locations where things are hidden in her room that you will need to retrieve for the I Spy game. There's her wardrobe, there's the toy box, and under her bed. Of course, what kid doesn't keep things under their bed, right? So she'll give you a letter. You'll find things that start with that letter and bring them to her. Some things may not be correct. In this video, everything that I clicked was correct just by chance, because some of them are duplicated. If you get an S or a W, those have items in 2 locations, in Toybox and under the bed. So you may wind up having to bring her more than 5 items if the first item that you bring her, or for a given letter, is not correct. But anyway, you bring her 5 correct items out of the dozen possibilities, and when you do, she is ready to go. And she'll go back out in the living room. Here's my second S. I got scarf the first time, and so I knew this one would be socks from under the bed. Once I give it to her, she's going to go out to the living room, and then I can go out there and talk to her parents. They will ask if Violet's ready to go, and offer stew again, which, of course, you turn down. Just, I don't know. I might like some Yeti stew. Who knows? But your character turns it down. There's a dad joke here about putting shoes on. Click the door to exit after the dialogue there. Go on an adventure. Option 1. That's what we want, because that's what the quest is all about. So then we've got a cutscene. Yeah, Jagex and their cutscenes. Okay, so we're walking off into the woods to puzzle number 3. And when we get there, there's going to be a dark passageway through the trees, and talk to Violet, and she says, "It's scary. What if there are monsters?" A little girl living with Yetis, and she's afraid of monsters. Go figure. But you have to find some way to light up the path so that she's not afraid of the path anymore, and you can proceed. So you're trying to think, and she starts shouting fire, and you're thinking she's going to try and burn down the forest, and then you find out it's fireflies. She sees fireflies. So, hey, why not give her a firefly, have her hold it, and maybe that'll be enough light so that she can get through there without being scared. So you shake a bush, catch a firefly, hand it to her. She says, "Oh, pretty!" And then she pops it in her mouth and eats it. And you realize that you can't just hand her a firefly to get through. So you need to talk to her dad, ask him if he has anything useful. He will say that he has an empty jar and ask why. Even if you already know it's for fireflies, you tell him stuff. He says, "Okay, here you go." So now you got a jar for the fireflies. So shake more bushes, get more fireflies. They'll automatically be added to your firefly jar when you get these fireflies now, until you get to 10. Sometimes the fireflies are a bit hard to see, and sometimes they'll glow brightly and you can just go over and catch them. But shake the bushes, find the fireflies, put them in the jar. If at any point you are unsure of how many fireflies you have, you can click the jar. The default option is to check the jar to see how many fireflies are in it. And it'll tell you you've collected however many. At this point I have 6 of 10. And then you can collect more until you have all 10. Now I'll also show you here, if you have 10 and you try collecting another one, number 11, oh, doesn't work. I don't have enough room to catch more. I could break the jar, but then I'd have to submit a bug report. There's a JogX pun, bug report, because you're collecting bugs, but also broken quest. So now that you've got the fireflies, we can get the syrup. To get the syrup, first we need to pick up this frozen bucket, then investigate a maple tree. Now, maple trees around Gielinor, you need 45 wood cutting in order to cut. For this quest, you do not need 45 wood cutting. You can have 1 wood cutting. See, right now I've got 43. So you can have 1 wood cutting, cut the maple. You can't craft it with a right click, but you go investigate, and it will give you the option to craft it. You want to craft it into a spile, and then use the spile on a tree. It doesn't have to be the one you cut. I just did the one that I cut because it was easiest to do. Then use the empty bucket on the maple tree with the spile to get a bucket of syrup. Then you want to go north through the path and click on the 4 leaning trees. Here's the first one, and then 2, 3, and 4 are all close to each other. There's 2, and 3, and 4. Now we've got all of the syrup on the trees that we need. So we go back south, go back to Violet and talk to her. And we'll tell her that the syrup is on there, and when we're going down the path, she needs to open the jar to let the lightning bugs out. And she can't eat any of them because they need to go eat the syrup, and they'll light the way on the trees. So here's the cutscene going through there, and we'll come up on some ice golems without heads. And you're like, oh great, we can sneak by them. And Violet's like, oh no, they make me sad because they don't have heads. We need to make heads. So there's some icy snow that will be just here southeast. They're behind you in the scene. and you'll use that to make the heads. So click on it to take the icy snow, and Violet will make faces that she wants on the heads that are going to be thrown onto the golems. She'll make 5 faces, and you don't have to make the same face, but if you do, then see, that was a sad face. Yes, I love it. If you don't, she's like, well, that's not the face that I wanted, but it's good. We'll keep it. So you make the 5 heads, and then it's enough heads for 15 golems somehow. And once you get those 5 heads made, it's time to tell her that you got them made and have her get ready to throw them. And you're going to want to click and get the heads on the golems. You can hit 5 of them at once if there are 5 of them in the same spot. Just click the spot and have the heads land. This spot right here is the best spot to do it. See, I've already got 9 of them. Some other videos are like, oh yeah, just spam click around, and no, don't do it. Just this spot right here, because it can literally be so quick that it just flies right by. There's 15, and it can be a couple of minutes just random clicking and trying to figure out, okay, where's that last one without a head, and which direction is he going next. So yeah, click that one spot, and when you get all 15, run back, talk to Violet. She wants to name them, just go through the chat, click her space bar. Move on to puzzle number 5. This is a frozen pond, lake, whatever, not stable enough to support everyone crossing it. So you have to get Violet to roar to bring snow down. And she's about to go roar here. Roar. And then snow falls, and because of RuneScape magic, whatever, that makes it more stable. But you have to get her to roar 3 more times, which is why there are 3 melted snowmen that you can see there. And you have to rebuild the snowmen. To your south, there's a pile of snow. Click it once per snowman to get enough snow to build the snowman, which is 25 apiece. And you don't have to go immediately put it on the melted snowman. You can gather all the pieces in your inventory at once if you want to. It doesn't matter, but I just did this to make it simpler for the video. So after you get the snow, you come over to either one of these 2 trees and prune branches off the tree. You'll need a total of 6 branches. It won't let you prune any more than that. You'll use the branches on the incomplete snowmen, and then after the branches, you will need items from these abandoned crates. There are 2 of them on the west and 1 to the southeast over here. And you can click on 1 over and over, total of 9 times, or you can click on 2 or 3, it does not matter. But because you can click on one of them 9 times, that's exactly what I'm doing here. And just, spacebar, because you can spacebar instead of click on the dialogue, and keep your mouse right there on the abandoned crate until you got everything. So I've got the 3 coal, the 3 carrots, and the 3 top hats, 3 carrots, and 21 coal. And you use the carrots and the coal first on the snowman, and then the top hats. Now what I'm doing here is I'm putting a top hat on to finish off the snowman, then telling Violet, hey, there's a snowman to roar at, and then while she's roaring at it, I'm clicking and putting this top hat on the next one so that I can tell her when that one's done and when she's done roaring at that one, that the next one's done. So once she's roared at all three, it's safe to cross, and over here to the east, after you cross the little pond there, in the icy water, there is a barrel. Now, you want to fish that barrel out and go talk to Violet, because it's just the right size to fit her. And she's going to go on a ride across this treacherous lake. So, I know a lot of players hate the ice puzzles because you can't just click and move to where you want to go. You have to click in the direction you want to go, and then you just slide until you hit something that makes you stop. And pushing Violet, it's the same kind of thing. You push her and she slides until she hits something that makes her stop. So a lot of players hate the ice puzzles like this, and this is the quickest way across. I've seen other videos and there were players that had so many extra moves to do some of these. It just made me want to shout at them, but of course it was a YouTube video, they couldn't hear me, and they weren't going to re-record the video to make it shorter because A, they couldn't, they'd already done the quest on that account, and B, even if they made another account, it would just be for one little part on one quest, right? So why? So this is the quickest way across. And it didn't take very long. Now, once you're across with Violet, her father is going to jump and slide across, but again, Java client didn't show up. So now we get to the final puzzle of the quest. We're going to be building a sled. But before we get to that, we have to talk to Violet. And she's going to mumble and grumble and complain, and we're going to have to talk to her a few times just to get her to speak up and voice her concerns where we can hear them, because she's concerned that the other kids in Yeti Town are not going to want to be her friends. So, of course, we have to reassure her, and then we can start building the sled. Once we have got the task to build the sled, we'll go to the south here, and this open space that looks oddly like a mostly finished sled, we investigate that, and yeah, it's the best place to build a sled ever. Okay, now off to the west, the Yeti Village sign. We are going to chop that sucker down. And initially, your character is concerned because, that's the sign that points the way to the village. And yeah, Violet's dad was like, no big deal. Put it upside down. It'll be our secret. Then we go to this crate to the north of where the Yeti Village sign was and get a rope. Then we go east over here to the east of the open space and investigate this rotting barrel. We get the metal pieces from it, because that will be part number 3 for our sled. And you can click on the sled and add the pieces as you gather them, but it's just quicker to gather everything and then go back to the sled and click, 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 click. Now part number 4, reaching in this icy lake here, we get a wet lantern. And because it's a wet lantern, of course, we have to have something that we can use to light the way, something to burn brightly and everything. So we investigate this fire uh, to the north of the lake, and we get a coal from it. Now, why the coal isn't burning in your inventory, yeah, that's Jogex, right? Anyway, so we build the sled. Use the Yeti Village sign, use the rope, use the pieces of the barrel, use the wet lantern, and then use the coal. And we'll wind up with a sled that we can go down to Yeti Village with. Um, we have to talk to Violet after we make the sled, and of course the first thing to do is to name the sled. Now I know I'm getting ahead of where the video is showing on this, but there's a reason. So the name, she can't think of a name, and so there'll be 10 options. Just choose one, doesn't matter, and she'll love it. Then you go down into Yeti Village, and there will be dialogue with the Yeti children saying that they want to be her friend, they want to be her best friend, they want hair like hers, and so on. So, of course, she's very popular when she actually gets there to Yeti Town. Now, you want to click on the dialogue after all of that. Click through everything and make sure you get the quest complete before you teleport out. Because I had one account that I didn't do the quest complete, didn't go through all the dialogue and get that first. And when I logged back in and went back to the land of snow, I was up at the top of that hill again. And so I had to go through everything going down the hill and all this dialogue going into Yeti Town, and basically, spacebar through everything just to get the quest complete and get the 3 lamps and the quest point and the treasure hunter keys and all that. So yeah, you get down here and she loves it and she wants to go play with the other kids, and her dad says, okay, just play nice. So here we go, quest complete.